conversion. This is also under infrastructure and asset management. This is to collect information regarding the city's assets for the eventual merging of mapping of infrastructure with the data about those assets. It'll help council prioritize improvements, and the information can be made instantaneously available to citizens, developers, and stakeholders for things like where do we have utilities, what's the traffic information, what are the inspections. We can put crime information on it, and this can all, just like anything else GIS, you can sort it by geographic area, or by the time you get something into a GIS database, you can pretty much do anything with it. And then the conversion is another $10,000 estimated to convert the data collected in this inventory and also existing data for uploading and use with the County AIMS platform. And now I'm going to turn this over to City Administrator Harrison Lee, who will guide you through your exercise to determine your priorities and goals.
Questions of staff before I kind of talk about?
I have a couple. So Laura, on our page 4, the slide on comprehensive plan and then the land development code. Is the comprehensive plan a predecessor to the land development code update?
Yes, ma'am.
So realistically, if the comprehensive plan will take about 12 months and we're talking about 2014 budget, would it not be better to move the land development into 2015, or is it realistic that those two can coincide with each other?
If you get the plan, the 2014 budget will start in January. You'll get the plan, if you get it done in 12 months and you start it, let's say you started August. You'd be done in August. You'd want to have some money into the 14 budget to be able to start the land development code.
Okay.
Because that budget would go from January through December.
All right. Then the other question that I have on the IT stuff, the business continuity, is that all new cost or new equipment, or does that also include ongoing maintenance?
No, ma'am. It's pretty much new, standardized equipment. Even though we have cloud products, we don't have the reliable network infrastructure to get us there. You are absolutely one hiccup from utter calamity.
Okay. And then my last question is more overall. With all of these, there's a couple of things in here, and I'm assuming we've heard over the last couple of months about some shortages in regards to staff support. So I guess my question is, do these costs include any additional staff that would be required to support it, or are we going to be looking at some additional costs for additional FTEs? An example, financial advisor services. We have $20,000 in there for somebody to review and do all this work. So Laura, I'm assuming that would come out of your team. Would you need additional people to do that, or is that cost included, or?
As you develop your priorities, we'll make sure that we have the staffing to take care of it. City Administrator.
Existing staffing? Or will we see another plan or another, part of the budget that deals with staffing?
After we get the feedback on the priorities, we will come back to you and talk about the staffing component, and that will kind of follow what you direct in terms of priorities.
Okay. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
I had a couple questions, Chris. On the business continuity side, it may just be a terminology thing, but you have $315,000 financed over 3 years. Is that truly a finance situation, or is that where we would just out of the reserves? Or is that something where we actually be taking out debt to finance that?
It's possible that we'll do a financing plan. We do have a thought, more than a thought, it's a developed thought of $105,000, possibly at 0%, but to the tune of $105,000 out of your expenditures in this budget. If you allocate $105,000 this year, next year, and the year following.
Is there also a possibility, though, maybe looking at a 5-year term to reduce the annual cost over a 5-year term?
I would say we can always discuss that. I would say that this 5 years is a long time for IT stuff.
Fair enough. I just wanted to because it said finance, I wanted to see if you were actually speaking in that regard. The other thing I had was under the economic development function. We have SWEDC in there. I don't see anything for the chamber. I don't know. Wanted to ask where we were there, because obviously it's something that needs to be, it all ties into the same piece.
The chamber is funded from the economic transient guest tax.
So it doesn't need to be into the same piece.
We're not discussing that tonight.
Very good.
This was mostly general fund related.
Tori, you have anything?
I had a question about the Gardner Chamber of Commerce as well. But, if I didn't.
Rick?
Well, I'm looking at the 51% excessive fund balance estimate, and I don't see any, I guess, priority to reduce taxes in the event that we have more money than we need.
You have a great deal of projects that have been deferred. So no, sir, that was not recommendation of staff.
I do have a question though in regards to that. With this plan, and I think Cheryl, you and I have talked about it, we have 2 projected mill increases based on the sewer plant as well as the new school. So is that taken into consideration? If we were to say we do not want to, we want to minimize the impact of those increases and not do them at all if possible, is that taken into consideration in this work?
The sewer-related project those are sewer utility rates, and that was taken into consideration when we entered into that project. And after a period of time, if you recall, we actually, in a vacuum, projected that sewer rates would go down in a vacuum because of that project. So that's not related to mill increases.
Okay.
And we did discuss, there was a possibility that we would have to raise 2 mills if council agreed to help fund that benefit district for the school. At this time, it does not look like we need to do that.
Okay.
Because we have excess
Because we have large reserves,
Well, why don't-
because there are other things in play, because you're going to identify your priorities at this time.
But I guess my priority is to reduce taxes. And is there anyone here that doesn't agree, or that wouldn't agree with that?
Well, I think it's short-sighted to say, I simply want to reduce taxes and then not do anything on the list. so it's just
51% is
taxes.
3 times what we
Well,
need.
I understand that, but I assume they'll take all things into consideration, but just say lower taxes, put off the projects, and we'll get to them later.
Well, I'm not saying put off the projects, but certainly we can, use some of that money towards things like that. And, 3 times the amount of what we need seems excessive.
Until we know.
Especially since we increased taxes, as you pointed out in your campaign, unnecessarily, I think you said,
Yes.
to the tune of 26%, was it?
Well, but let me ask this, would it not be best to get through this and understand what the impact is gonna be, and then, I'm not saying, Larry, that you don't have a valid point, and maybe that's something we should look at, but shouldn't we understand all the impacts of what staff is presenting, and then how much money is left in reserve, and then say, is this something we wanna do?
Because if you do it that way, we'll never get the money back, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well,
So I feel like we need to make it a priority to have that as a goal. Maybe it's one that we didn't mention in the goal setting, but certainly, I gotta believe with this, the second highest taxes, probably, cumulative with the school district in Johnson County, right? It's,
I don't think that was right. I don't have the list now, but I don't think that was accurate.
it's not,
No,
140, what are we at, 147 mills, including the school district?
including the school.
Yeah, we're at, I'm just saying, people look at those kinds of things when they decide to come here and either spend money or live here. So it seems like a pretty important feature that we may have neglected.
I guess what I would say is, how would you suggest we go about doing that?
I think anytime you have an excess, you pay down some debt and do some deferred maintenance. You certainly don't take on new projects and economic development if you have all this deferred maintenance that has not been done. You don't go out and pave roads for developers that we don't even know. A minute ago, we were all several of you were trying to say, let's encourage this partnership with the developer without even a comprehensive plan.
No, I don't
and-
think anybody said that. I said what we need to do.
Well,
is
we're not going to wait
cost
on it.
benefits.
You said you're not going to wait on a comprehensive plan, although that's really the process. So I guess before we go down this path, and we are going down, initiatives, and so staff initiatives, but really this process is supposed to involve the city council. And I think anytime you have that much excess funds, you ought to try to pare down the taxes for the benefit of the people that live here.
I know, I think we're getting the cart before the horse a little bit.
Well,
Our city-
it is
Oh,
presented in
Excuse me. I'm going to ask you to please, if I start speaking, or anybody starts speaking, please not interrupt. Please. Our city administrator is planning on facilitating some workshop of the information that was just provided. This is This is based on information that was gathered from us during a previous